program. Each fall, writers come from around the globe to write, to shape an earth without borders, to draw the world closer through a commitment to the written word.
Hello, my name is Peter Nazareth, and I have with me today one of the members of the International Writing Program, Devanur Mahadev from India. Welcome, Devanur.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Now, Devanur is one of the many writers who comes to the program in Iowa City each fall. The program is known as the International Writing Program. I myself work as an advisor to this program, and I think before we continue talking to Devanur about his work, we should see something that the interim director, Fred Woodard, has to say and do regarding the program. Can we watch the video, please?
Each fall, writers come to the University of Iowa from all over the world. They live here for 3 months together, meeting each other, meeting American writers and scholars, and sharing the common literary and human concerns. This year, 20 writers have come to Iowa, as other writers have come for nearly a quarter of a century now. They bring with them a diversity of talent and culture. Now, they come to Iowa from very, very busy professional lives. They are businessmen and women, lawyers, professors, nuclear physicists, journalists, physicians, tributaries of a single river, streams of the literary world. I'm very happy indeed to be a part of this enterprise, and I'm particularly proud of the opportunity to share with you some of the riches that they bring to us here at the University of Iowa. This series of interviews are meant to be shared with you across the world. Thank you very much.
This is Peter Nazareth. My guest is Devanur Mahadev from India. Devanur, I want to ask you about your writing, but of course first there's the fact of your arrival in Iowa City and how you've been faring here. So we sent someone along to the Mayflower where you live just to record what you're doing. So let's have a look at the video.
October. The trees are turning behind the Mayflower apartments. Devanur slips a maple leaf between the pages of his book. He thinks of home. This is my wife Sumitra, and these my 2 daughters. This is my farm in India, and now I'm in Iowa. We visited a farm in Pinehurst, east of Iowa City. That was last week. It was a windy day. We had a great American dinner in the home of Keith and Joan Hemingway. They had a good harvest last year. This land is pretty, even when it blows.
Devanur, you are a novelist from India. You write in Canada, and I want to ask you something about your fiction. But since you write in Canada, I know you feel that you may need some assistance as you go along. So I want to introduce your friend here, Sharath Ananthamurthy, who will help you when necessary. Welcome, Sharath.
Thank you.
Of course, Sharath has credentials of his own. I mean, his father, U.R. Ananthamurthy, was a member of the International Writing Program in 1974-75.
That's right.
Tell us something about your fiction. I know you've received a national award for your fiction, and Penguin is about to publish it. But for our listeners, what do you write about?
I have 3 books in my account, right?
Yes.
One is Devanur. It is collection of short stories. It is 7 short stories are there, and another one is Vadalala. In English, it's called Rooster and the Peacock, right? It is a 40 pages novelette. Latest one is Kusuma Bale. It It is last year published.
Yeah, Kusumbale, you translated, or at least we arranged to have a translation of a section, and it was studied in the class here.
Right.
It's a novel in verse, and it seems to be set centuries back and to draw on Indian myths, but at the same time, it looks like you are tackling current social issues.
It's true. In a prose and poetry combination, it is there in Kannada tradition, right? It is called Champu.
That's a form, a mixture of prose.
Mixture of prose and poetry. Maybe 9th century. One first poet, Adi Kavi Pampa, he wrote in that form. Right?
He's saying that this form was already present in the Kannada, and there is a 9th century Kannada poet called Pampa who wrote this in this form, and this is called Champu Kavya.
But are you dealing very much with current social issues? That's what you told me, and that's what I gather from what I've read.
It's true.
What social issues?
Sharat Kannada ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡ್ಲಾ?
ಹೇಳಿ.
It's better.
You speak Kannada?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sharat will help us.
For every word I have to search.
You have to buy an American computer so you can get it faster.
Right. ಕಾದಂಬರಿ ಅಥವಾ ಕಥೆಯ ವಸ್ತು ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ, ಆದರೆ ಅದು ಎಬೌಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಷ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್.
The subject of my novels, he says, is about the Dalits, the untouchables of India.
Yeah.
But it is not necessarily about them.
ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಬರೆಯುವಾಗ ಹೇಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬರೆಯುವಾಗ ಕಥೆನ ನಾನು ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಈ ಥರ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದಷ್ಟು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಅದೇ ಹೇಳುವಂಗೆ, ಆ ವಸ್ತುನೇ ಹೇಳುವಂಗೆ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀನಿ.
He's saying I try to make the novel speak for them, for the Dalits. Yes, but I don't necessarily say anything about them in the novel, but the characters have to speak for
themselves.
Yeah.
Now, Dalit, I have read about this, the Dalit Panthers, I remember a few years ago, right?
Yes.
They really are called Dalit, or is that a term they adopted themselves?
It is adopted. It is adopted term.
What does Dalit mean?
Depressed. One who depressed. One who
think oppressed is more
the oppressed.
appropriate. Yeah.
Okay. Now, why... I understand. I mean, I've read that your work has made a tremendous impact. In what way has the work made an impact? I mean, I'm concerned about, the social aspect. We have had other writers from India who wrote about social issues, and there were yet other writers who felt, well, when you deal with social issues, you are not a serious writer. Some people say, or said, if one writes about social issues, one is not a very serious writer. So why don't you tell me a little more about how exactly you approach these issues?
ಮತ್ತು ಆ ಥರ ಪಡೋದು ಮತ್ತು ಅನುಭವನ ಬೇಕಾದ ತಿರುಚೋದು, ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆ ಥರ ಕಾಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ. ಬಟ್ ನನ್ನ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಪವಾದಾಗಿದೆ.
He says that this accusation can't be hurled on me because though I write in a framework of the progressive writer, I don't manipulate my characters. I don't make them into propaganda puppets. And therefore, and I'm not in a hurry to make any big statement. So even though the framework in which I write may be termed progressive, I am not called, or I'm not accused of being a less serious writer.
Okay. Tell us something about the Untouchables. You mentioned to me, and I have some idea, but perhaps not so clear an idea. What is untouchability in India?
ಯಾರು ಕೀಳು ಅಂತ ಭಾವಿಸ್ತಾರೋ ಆ ವೃತ್ತಿನ ಇವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮುಟ್ಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಾರ್ದು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇಂದ್ರಿಂದ ರೂಢಿ ಇದೆ. ಈಗ ಆ ರೂಢಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
Maybe you better tell us what is that so far.
All right. He started by describing the Varna system in India. So he says there are 4 Varnas.
Caste, that is.
Varnas are not exactly castes. Varnas are more a division depending on the kind of jobs you do. And the people who don't fall into the Varna system are the untouchables. They came to be known as the untouchables because they were assigned jobs which none of the other members of the other Varnas wanted to do. And these were usually the menial jobs. And as a result, they were also put outside the villages. So they had to live away from the people from the other Varnas.
And then they became literally untouchable?
Yes. Asprishya, he says, means sprishya. Sparsha means to touch. Asprishya in Sanskrit is not to be touched.
And does that, I know it has been translated as untouchable. Does it actually literally mean untouchable?
In villages
Yes.
you can see it.
Yeah.
Yes, because they are not touched.
I know your father, in fact, had written about this subject in his very famous novel Samskara, which was made into a movie. I mean, he dealt with, what was his name, Pranashacharya?
Pranashacharya.
Yes.
Yes, but he has at some point a relationship with an untouchable woman which changes his whole life.
Yes.
And throws open the whole question of life and the whole Hindu approach to life.
That's right. Yes.
So then it seems a very serious problem in India.
Yes,
True.
it is.
It is a curse to India actually.
Yeah. Well, then, has your, this may not be quite a fair question to ask, but has your writing changed the way people see the caste system, as far as you can tell?
You know?
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬರವಣಿಗೆಯಿಂದ ಜಾತಿ ಪದ್ಧತಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಜನ ನೋಡೋ ರೀತಿ ಬೇರೆ ಆಗಿದೆಯಾ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ.
ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಸ್ತರದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
He says, I'd like to give you a very interesting instance. After a very pious Brahmin read my novelette Vodalala, he came up to me and said, after reading this, I feel that the character Sakava, who is an old woman in the novel, I feel that she's like my own grandmother. So he says that he feels that it can make some people change.
By changing people's consciousness.
Right.
Well, I think then it, at this point, would be very helpful if you could actually read an example of your work. Perhaps Sharat could help, but we do have a translation of an extract. So can you read it?
ನಾನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಓದಿ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ರಾತ್ರಿಯಾಗಿ ಈ ನರಲೋಕದ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ಸಾಪಾರ ಮುಗಿದು ಅದು ಮಲಗುವಂತಾಯ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಆಗ ತೂರಮ್ಮನ ಶರೀರದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಂಥ ರಂಧ್ರಾದಿ ನರನಾಡಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಬಾಯ ಬುಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡು ಕಡ್ಡಿಪುಡಾದಿಯ ಸಿರಿಯು ತೂರಮ್ಮನ ಮುಂದ ಅವು ಇರಲು ತೂರಮ್ಮ. ರೈಟ್? ಸಾಕಲ್ಲ?
Okay.
Maybe I should read the English translation of that.
Yeah.
The day and the ways of the human world ceased. They seemed to sleep, and all of Turamma's body, the pores of her flesh and the veins of her skin, opened their mouths. They sat awake, they blinked. They were waiting for a smell or a sound or a sign. Her son-in-law gave her betel leaves, a rich gift for a month, and a quarter measure of areca nut tobacco, and a heap of kadipudi twigs to pile in front of her. Turamma with the marujavali switch. Turamma with the snake rod stretched her legs to her full length. And wedged them under the door to the room of the child, where the mother was, where the child was. Then she hugged the edge of the threshold to catch what drifted by. Turamma must have known this.
Thank you. Well, it seems that unlike my generation, though I was born in Uganda, but unlike my generation, you don't concern yourself with colonialism. It's not an issue for you at all. I mean, it doesn't figure in your writing. You know, for me, for my generation, it is the colonial relationship and what happened afterwards that is of primary importance. But there's nothing like that in your work.
ನಿಜ, ಆದರೆ ನೀವು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ರಿಲೇಶನ್ಶಿಪ್, maybe.
That's right, yes.
Right? But
you didn't?
No, I will tell you. Right. If I, at particular time, at particular situation, if I characterize the things, don't you think it is there, somehow it is there, the impact or influence?
Oh, there's a kind of internal colonialism.
Yeah, yeah. Which, maybe the writer may not know it, right? Because at that moment, how you pursue the things, how the characters are there, you can find it, right?
Well, what I see is this, this internal hierarchy. I read a very famous story by Lucian, the true story of RQ, where you see this internal kind of oppression, and then the peasant who's oppressed kicks a nun. And if you read the story, it's only if you stand back that you realize there were so many powers ruling over China. But inside the story, it's not so easy to figure it out.
Right, you're right.
So you think that's what you do as well?
Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
I'm happy if it is right.
Well, I'm judging on the basis of something quite short, and perhaps I'm even judging on the basis of you. In a way, you are the novel that we're looking at. But you named one of your novels after yourself, right? Or is it not himself?
ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಥೆನ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲೇ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ.
Devanur. No, Devanur is my village name.
Oh.
It's my village name.
May I interrupt here?
Yeah.
And many Indians have their hometown as a first name.
Oh.
So he is Devanur Mahadeva, which means he's Mahadeva who comes from
Devanur. Well, like Jesus of Nazareth.
Exactly.
My forebear.
Yes.
But
you come from a village. You must have an occupation different from writing. You can't earn your living just by writing.
My wife is she's teaching.
Right? Your wife's a teacher.
Right. And also I have some land. Last year only I purchased it. I buy it.
You're a farmer then?
Of course.
Oh, then you have come to the right place in Iowa, because this is the place where we have farmland and we also grow writers.
I'm very happy.
I know your work is about to be published by Penguin in England and
in India. Penguin
in
India
India?
series. Penguin India series.
Oh, I didn't know there was an Indian series.
It started last year.
And now what is going to be published? I mean, do you have a translation?
Of course.
Series?
I have almost my 5 short stories and a novelette and Kusum Wale.
Yeah.
They are going
all together.
Yeah.
So in fact, we'll be able to get a copy here in Iowa.
Beautiful.
Good. Then by the next time you come back, we will have studied all your work.
Wonderful.
And then we'll talk some more about your work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Sharath, as well.